What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Again, apologies if I sound a little bit hoarse. I'm still getting over COVID. I'm feeling a lot better today. I think I sound better today. But today we're going to be covering Sign of Django versus Lord Vader. This has been a highly requested video. Covered it a long time ago when it first came out, but now we have this new Datacron for BAM that makes the fight ridiculously easy in my opinion. So I'm going to kind of go over the modding. I'm going to break down the fight and hopefully give you guys my best explanation of it, because without the Datacron, it is a pretty difficult counter, but with the Datacron, in my opinion, I think a lot of you guys are going to be able to pull this off. There aren't a whole lot of Lord Vader comps that are going to really give you a whole lot of issues. So let's get started. All right, guys, so here's the team. Placement doesn't really matter other than I do want to, I always try to mention this when I talk about IG and Quill on a team, but always make sure you put Quill in front of IG, because IG will actually get a little bit more of a stat boost. Don't know why, that's just the way the game works. First off, I want to say you do not need Relic 9 on everybody. Like I said, this is just my favorite team in the whole game. I really like the way they work together, and just the overall concept of this team I think is just really, really, really cool. Before the Datacron, I would always recommend Relic 7 on everybody. Fenix Shand is probably your most important relic because she's the only one that's going to kill Lord Vader. If I'm being honest. But with this Datacron, I don't want to say anything below Relic 7 will work, but I can see how people might be able to finagle their way through with lesser relics. But I would say Relic 7 on everything, just because your team is going to be taking a beating for quite a bit. Okay, Sign of Django. Speed is actually pretty easy on this team. I have him at a whopping 257, guys, so I mean, not super fast, and we'll go over why he doesn't need to be fast. But offense with health, I would highly recommend doing a health primary over a protection primary, just because we're going to be equalizing our protection through BAM. And if you don't have full protection, you really want to make sure you're relying on health steals. So the bigger health pool, in my opinion, I think is a little bit better for him. But offense primaries, and then, oh, I actually have an offense primary and arrow. So if you can get away with that, go for it. If not, speed arrow will be just fine. He's not really, I actually think a speed arrow might actually make more sense here. He's not killing Lord Vader. I mean, every once in a while he might get the final tap, but for the most part, he's kind of there to kind of neutralize the side. So if you don't have an offense arrow, a speed arrow will be just fine. But in terms of secondaries, whatever you think's best, protection, health, but you don't want crit damage on the triangle, because we're not going to be critting a whole lot just because of Lord Vader's mechanics. Next, Fenix Shand. I got her at 262 speed, 80k health, 80k protection. Her you do want to run protection on, in my opinion, because we're going to be equalizing her protection more than anyone else's. She's basically our #1 target for BAM. Offense on the cross, offense on the triangle, and I also have another offense arrow. Fenix Shand is the one character I would highly stress having an offense arrow on, guys. If you don't, speed arrow will work just fine. But again, these characters are not super fast. They don't need to be super fast. If you have crit damage on her, crit damage will work, but offense is really what you want, just because, like I said, we're not going to be critting against Lord Vader a whole lot, and she's going to actually get a lot of turn meter out of her kit. Moving on to BAM. Okay, now BAM is kind of the weird one here, because most people are used to modding him for Whistling Birds. I can tell you right now, you are not going to be pushing that button at all in the fight. It's pretty much, well, now with the Datacron, you're just spamming the damage immunity. Before it would be basic, and then whenever the damage immunity comes up, you use it. But now you're just spamming that button. So, but you do want to mod him pretty healthy. Again, not super fast. He's 271. The turn order does matter, and we'll go over the turn order later as well. Health, and protection. Any combination of those will work. If you want more protection than health, more health and protection, I think it's fine. He just needs to be beefy, because he's kind of like the healer for the team, which is kind of weird because he's not a healer, but you'll see how it works. Next, Quill. Quill is 347. You don't need a 347 Quill. Half the Lord Vader teams I encounter, I'm going second anyway, so I'm actually debating on winding back on the speed just a little bit. I would say a good target for Quill's speed would be around 330. I think 330 is pretty manageable, and you want to mod him to be tanky. This guy cannot die. Well, nobody can die in the team, but Quill, you need him to stick around. So we have protection. If you don't have protection, I would say, or if you're missing a protection mod, I think that's okay. Also the speed arrow. I think you can get away with 2 protection primaries and 1 health primary, but really, you really want protection on this guy. Don't worry too much about the secondaries. I mean, I would say if there's a secondary you want to look for, maybe potency. But other than that, he shares the stats with the rest of the team. IG-11. Okay, IG-11, 352. Again, don't need him that fast. The rule here, though, guys, is with IG-11 speed, is it's kind of similar to how I preach for Bosk and Grief. You know, you always want your Bosk to be 1 speed faster than Grief. Same principle here. You want IG-11 to be 1 speed faster than Quill. But if you can't manage your IG-11 to be 1 speed faster than Quill, I would say, you know, 5, maybe 10 speed is okay, but you kind of want to have a closer window than that. What you're going to want to mod him is, other than speed, is health. Health primaries, and the reason for that is because his protection is based off his max health. So when he enters the battle, he gets I think it's 40% of his max health gets converted into protection. So we want to make sure he has a big health pool, that way we can kind of double dip and get protection out of it at the same time. Alright, real briefly, I want to go over my opponent's Lord Vader stats just to give you an idea. So the Lord Vader we are fighting is Relic 9. He does have a speed set. He's at 556 with 11k offense. Maul is, of course, modded for offense, and he's at 301 speed, a little bit on the squishier side, but he's almost pushing 11k offense as well. He also had Thrawn on the team. Thrawn is modded for speed, 342. It's pretty fast, I'm not gonna lie. Pretty tanky. His Royal Guard was R7. You know, pretty standard Royal Guard, I would say. And then he also had Canderous Ordo on the team, and let me tell you right now, Canderous Ordo actually helps your Sign of Django team. I know Canderous Ordo is usually there to stop and block bounty hunters, but trust me, you see a Canderous on the team, it's a free kill. It's pretty much like a 5v4 fight. So seeing Canderous against Sign of Django is a good thing. And here's a quick preview of the Datacron that my opponent used. He used one with crit damage and the cooldown reset for Lord Vader. Yes, there's no health steal on this one, but as you'll see, health steal doesn't really play a factor in this fight. It kind of just prolongs it, but not in the way you would think. All right, so here's the Datacron I'm going to be using. The more important part of it is the level 9, where Bam resets his cooldowns. He loses 5% health for every time he resets his cooldowns. Don't worry. Him losing his health, I mean, he can go down 1%. It's not going to kill him, and it really doesn't matter a whole lot here because the Lord Vader team can't ignore protection, and we have a lot of ways to heal him with IG-11 and Quill. In terms of the level 6, I guess this might be the best one to run. It really doesn't matter which level 6 you pick. However, the level 3 kind of helps, kind of doesn't. Whenever light side allies gain tenacity up, gain 10% protection up, stacking for 2 turns. So Bam will constantly be equalizing protection as well as stacking protection up on himself, and if he targets a light side ally, which sometimes you might, you're also going to provide them with some more survivability. I have a little bit of everything here. I think I actually hit one of every stat here, which is kind of weird. If you really are looking for a stat to nail on this Datacron, I would say it'd be special damage for Fenix. Maybe a little bit of armor, but for the most part, like I said, the level 9 does the heavy lifting. Alright, so before we start the fight, I just want to go over highlight a couple of things. That way, I'm not pausing too much in the video. But like I said, the turn order is we want our fastest character to be IG-11. And the reason for that is if he's our fastest character, he's going to cleanse the dots on Lord Vader. He's going to cleanse the dots that Lord Vader puts on us. You know, dots basically equal days under his leadership. Then once they're cleansed, Quill can then take a turn. He'll be our second fastest character. Then he can give everybody turn meter up. Mechanic Savvy, which if you don't know what Mechanic Savvy does, it pretty much makes everyone hit ridiculously hard. And also provides as a savior for IG-11. You don't see it a whole lot, and it doesn't happen quite often in this fight, but he can be res, which is kind of weird. Our third fastest character is going to be Bam. That really doesn't matter a whole lot. If Bam's not your third fastest character, it's not the end of the world. But he's going to be going probably before IG-11 anyways, because if Maul's on the team, he's going to be proccing his bonus turn. Then you have Fenix, our fourth fastest, and our slowest character, obviously, Sign of Django. Sign of Django, anytime he crits, he's getting turn meter. Kind of similar to Mando, but he only gives it to himself, not to the whole team. So there's a couple times where, you know, you might want to just go off the sides and then take a shot on Lord Vader, just so he gets those 4 crits, those 4 stacks of momentum, and he'll get 20% turn meter. Because I believe it's 5% turn meter per crit. So before we go into the fight, there are 4 phases to this fight. I kind of like to chop it up into little bits, and I'll be kind of pausing to explain what's going on in each phase. So the first phase is going to be the startup phase. Pretty much whatever Maul does to your team, and whoever's cooldowns he's increasing, whoever he goes after, that's pretty much a roll of the dice. Sometimes Thrawn plays a factor depending on the speed, but I'll talk about how to get around Thrawn. Then you have what's called the setup phase, and the setup phase is pretty much right after that startup phase. It's pretty much how you're able to set up and kill Maul immediately, if Maul's even on the team. After the setup phase, you have what's called the ad phase, which is pretty much killing all the ads, as many as possible before Lord Vader goes into his first ultimate. And we do have a lot of control when he goes into his first ultimate. Like I said, I'll talk about that in the battle. And then after that, you have what's called the burn phase, which is pretty much when you just finish off Lord Vader. So let's get started. So we start off with the AoE, triggers the frenzy, Maul does his little dance, and then Canderous straight up goes, and now he went for Sign of Django. So that's actually a really good, startup phase for us. So we're going to put the damage immunity over onto Sign of Django. Typically, you're always going to put it on Fennec like 90% of the time, but if a character is in the yellow or red, definitely put it on them over Fennec. We have the entire 5 minutes to ramp with Fennec. You don't need to be ramping super early. So we're going to go ahead and put that on Sign of Django. We might remove Maul's Terminator, which we did, and he still went. Okay, so our IG-11, again being our fastest character, Bam did cleanse all the dots for us, but IG-11 would have cleansed them again anyways. So now what you're not going to do here, guys, the only time you taunt is if you know for a fact Thrawn is going to go next. That's why I say have that really short window between IG-11 and Quill, because you want Quill going right after IG-11. The reason because you want the taunt up if Thrawn is going to go is because if Thrawn fractures your Bam or your Fennec, you're in a lot of trouble. So the reason you don't taunt as a first move is because, coincidentally enough, our contract and Lord Vader's ultimate have the same requirements. It's their team being debuffed and taking damage. Sign of Django's contract is not one of those contracts where you get and you instantly win. It helps you win the fight, but it doesn't immediately win the fight for you. So when you do this fight, don't worry about the contract. You'll get it eventually, but don't focus on it. Okay, so right here, I'm a little bit worried about Thrawn going, so we are going to taunt here. Like I said, typically if Thrawn is in here, you don't need to taunt because you don't want to expedite that ultimate on Lord Vader, but we're going to go after Maul first because he is priority threat number 1. He will get Lord Vader his ultimate faster than anyone else on the team. Now we're going to put damage immunity over onto Fennec and just start ramping her a little bit here and there. But yeah, as you can see, Lord Vader is going to go in his ultimate a little bit earlier than I'd like, but that's okay. We're going to try to stun Royal Guard. We fail. IG-11 took the fracture, which is good. Now we have to pretty much save IG-11. We just go all in on Thrawn. Thrawn is priority number 1. Alright, we got him out right before the ultimate, which is good. Like I said, Canderous is a free kill. Canderous is not doing anything here. He's not helping Lord Vader. He's just there. And then again, we're going to get the cleanse with Bam here in a second. Put it on Fennec. You might be thinking put it on Quill, but it actually equalizes everyone's protection. So just ramp Fennec. Just keep ramping Fennec if everyone's healthy. Like I said, you only really put it on other people if they're in danger. So now we'll go after Canderous here. He's an easy kill. And now it's just Lord Vader and Royal Guard. So we're almost out of the ad phase, almost into the burn phase. And again, like I said, this fight becomes 10 times easier with this Datacron, guys. 10 times easier. Like I said, sometimes the fight does change a little bit in that setup phase, depending on who's on the team. Sometimes you have Gideon, sometimes you just have Stormtrooper, you get an Inquisitor every once in a while. But for the most part, I've yet to encounter a team that prevents Sign of Django or this team comp from working. This team comp is just so well built. And you might say here you might want to armor shred Royal Guard, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've done that a couple times. I've gone up against a couple of R8 and R9 Royal Guards that sometimes just take too long to kill. So now, if you saw there, I used the special with Sign of Django. So once you get to your 6 stacks of momentum, that's when it's time to ramp. That's when you start to give everybody tenacity up. You almost never, ever use Sign of Django's AoE. It just never really serves a purpose in this fight. I think I've used it. I've done this fight hundreds of times. I think I've used it like twice. But you just start spamming the special because it ramps Fennec. We're giving everyone 10% protection up too, which is kind of nice with the Datacron. The only thing to note though, is under Sign of Django lead, tenacity up is crit avoidance, which is good because when Lord Vader does an AoE, like I think he will right here, we didn't get a crit. Nobody was critically hit. So let's rewind. Let's watch that real quick. So the nice thing about that tenacity up is it really increases your survivability. Nobody's taking a crit here. I mean, we have 2 characters in damage movies. I guess that doesn't count, but however, though, there is a bit of a drawback to the tenacity up, and that's on IG-11. IG-11, when he's critically hit, he recovers, I believe it's 20% of his max protection or something like that. It's almost like a built-in Barris mechanic. But when you give him tenacity up, he gets that crit avoidance, and sometimes Lord Vader can chew through your IG-11. So just be aware of that when you start ramping with Sign of Django. You're really only doing that when you're in the burn phase, when it's just Lord Vader, and like it's go time, it's time to kill him. That's when you pretty much you put everything on the line. But other than that, IG-11 should be tanking just fine. I would typically say when his taunt is ready, if he didn't use it early like I did, I would say use the taunt right before he goes into the ultimate. If your IG-11 has his taunt for 2 turns when Lord Vader goes into the ult, you're in a very good spot. You don't have to worry about the ult at all. And like I said, Bam just constantly equalizing our protection and ramping Fennec. We don't have any armor shot on Lord Vader. You know, you probably are going to want to put armor shot on Lord Vader, but like I didn't feel the need to here because we're ramping so much with Fennec. But like I said, guys, this Datacron makes this fight 10 times easier. This fight took me about, I think I maxed out on arena battles for almost 2 weeks. I think it was like 11 days or something like that. It was nuts trying to figure out this counter when Sign of Django first came out. So, but this Datacron makes it ridiculously easy. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. I know it's a little bit longer of a video today. I'll probably do another video on this team again, especially when the Datacron leaves, because that's the nice thing. This counter won't go away when the Datacron goes away. It'll just go back to being, you know, pretty difficult. But with practice, guys, I really do think that you can get this counter to work. And if you're using this in Territory Wars and you give Sign of Django the leadership Omnicron, it's a shoo-in. And if you give him the leadership and the unique, like it's like easy times 2. You know, it gets much easier with the Omicrons. I think you really only need the lead. I don't really think you need the unique, especially if you're running this Datacron. But like I said, you can practice this in arena, and yeah, it's a great Territory War option. It's a really good GAC option because now you're saving your bounty hunters for whatever you need. You know, whether that's going after Malgus, whether it's going after Gas, whether it's going after a DR team, freeing up your entire bounty hunter squad, I think just has a lot of value because, you know, you can use them for, you know, X, Y, and Z. I know this counter can be a little bit confusing and complicating at times, so if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to ask. You know, you can DM me in Discord or you can ask me in the comment section below. I'll try to respond to you as soon as I possibly can. But there's no stupid questions when it comes to this counter. You know, whether it's a question about mod secondaries versus primaries or turn order or, you know, anything I didn't even mention in the video, please feel free to ask because I want to do as much as I can to help you guys get this counter up and running because I do think this counter is, one, I think it's super fun, and 2, like I said, just having your bounty hunters free from Lord Vader, you know, finally you don't have to use them against Lord Vader all the time. It's a pretty good feeling, and it kind of just adds another team to your arsenal. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with your guildmates, and I will see you all in the next video.